Marvel Studios has returned to the theaters, and the God of Thunder has also returned. Thor, Love and Thunder. It's time to talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by WeAreCritiX.com, a place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe key and that notification bell so y'all can be up to speed about everything that I talk about here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time to talk about the premiere of Thor, Love and Thunder. And I had the opportunity to see this thing thanks to National Amusements Showcase Cinemas here in New England. I was able to not only see Thor, Love and Thunder, but I was also able to screen all 4 Thor movies back to back, leading into, 3, leading into the 4th, Love and Thunder. And, you know, in good fashion, before I talk about what I thought about Thor, Love and Thunder, let's talk about what it is. Thor, Love and Thunder is the 4th installment of the Chris Hemsworth-led superhero film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, known as the MCU. Thor, in the first one, we saw that he became unworthy of his power, and he had to find his way back, and he found that through love, meeting, Jane Foster and crew, and being able to overcome his eternal battle to be worthy to be the God of Thunder. Then we roll over to the second one, where the first Infinity Stone, well, not the first Infinity Stone, I think it was the second Infinity Stone that was introduced, called the Ether, later on known as the Reality Stone, was introduced, and Thor had to somehow extract it from Jane Foster. And then in the third one, which is quite a fan favorite, Thor Ragnarok. Thor is challenged with Ragnarok, the destruction of his home. Does he save it? Does he let it die? That's what happens, and then we move on into the Infinity War and the Endgame, and now we are here with Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, I want to give people a fair warning about going into this movie before I tell you what I thought about it. Do not go into this movie expecting it to somehow explain the MCU as a whole. Go into this movie as though it is yet another installment within the Thor franchise. And that's what a lot of these sequels do. If you pay attention to them, you understand that these movies serve a purpose for the overall character and their arc. Sometimes they'll drop gems and jewels in there which connected later, but you'll see that later on either in like Easter eggs or sometimes in post-credit scenes. So that, knowing this, I feel like I had an upper hand advantage seeing this film because I got to watch it immediately after watching all the other Thors. So for me, the film makes sense for the Thor character, not for the overall MCU. So a lot of people are out there saying a lot of negative things about this movie, like it was pointless, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't take you anywhere. That is true if you're looking for it to expand, expand the overall MCU. That is true. But if you are solely a Thor fan and you enjoy the character and the dynamic between him and his wacky friends, Guardians of the Galaxy, this served a purpose for the Thor character, following all the trauma and nonsense that he's gone through since his first run in the first Thor. This movie is directed by Taika Waititi. We all know this. He was the gentleman who revived the character with Thor Ragnarok, which again is a fan favorite. And before I tell you what I thought, I want to leave you with this disclaimer. I have never been a fan of any of the Thor movies, ever. From the first one to the second one, which made it even worse for me, Ragnarok was good, but I felt like it was a task that was forced and needed to be done to revive it. So to me, I was kind of hard on it. It was like, yeah, it's good, but look what they had to do to make it good. And then the fourth one just happened, I gotta tell you, revisiting these, going back and watching them all back to back in sequence in one day, I kind of got a love for Thor now. And I'll explain why later, but I want to tell you what I thought about Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, Thor: Love and Thunder picks right up from the last time that we saw Thor at the end of Endgame. It follows Thor after all the trauma that he's been through. I mean, the loss of family members and the loss of his love, Jane Foster, who we see going through her own turmoil, her own traumatic experiences as she is burdened with cancer. Now, this is straight from the comic stuff, guys, and I'm gonna get a little spoilish with this because at this point the whole world is gonna have seen this movie by the time you've probably even seen this thing. And if you haven't, I apologize, but come back after you've seen it, and then you can drop your comments below. But I'm gonna get a little spoilerish with it because I feel like it just needs to be said in order to explain what's going on. So Jane is stricken with cancer, and she needs to figure out a way to. She's trying to figure out a way to make this thing disappear or how to survive it. Meanwhile, Thor is playing the macho role. He's out there saving the world with the Guardians and overdoing it, and trying to be the big man and the savior of the worlds to kind of just bury the emotions and the feelings of all the loss that he's had in his life. And then the two cross paths, and Jane and Thor. It gets a little interesting. The beginning of this movie is utterly, completely bonkers and wacky. The way Taika Waititi likes to tell stories. It's way more wackier than Ragnarok. It's way more comedic. It's very funny if you don't take it too seriously. You'll have a good time because these characters that you love, like seeing Thor interact with Star-Lord and the Guardians and everything, it's funny, it's hilarious, it's very, very entertaining. It's a straight comedy. This movie is a rom-com. And once Thor and Jane meet, the tone gets a little darker, gets a little serious. Not a lot, but enough to move the story forward. And you get a lot of that in this movie, where it's very light, but it's dark where it needs to be. You have this new character introduced, Gore the God Butcher, which is the villain played by Christian Bale, who is phenomenal as Gore the God Butcher. A lot of people are saying that he was wasted. I don't think that he was wasted. I think he served the purpose that he needed to play in this film when he was needed. If you know the comic book and you know the storyline, it's just one arc, it's just one run. Gore doesn't live on through books and books and books of Marvel Thor books. He is a one-shot character that serves his purpose in the run, and then he's not there anymore. So a lot of people are feeling like the character is wasted, and I don't believe that at all. I just think that the tone for what they're trying to do with this character works when it's related to the other Thor movies that we've got. We've seen in the past that too dark of a Thor movie doesn't really work. Hence Dark World, which I ended up actually kind of quite enjoying when I watched it during the marathon. More than I should have, I should say. The first half horrible, second half better. So I think that they did a great job with that. There are some issues with this movie, and we'll get into that right now. My issues with this movie, because it's so light, it's so fun, it's fast paced, it goes by. You don't feel like you're there for 3 hours, to watch a movie. It's in and out. You get what you're supposed to get, and you get out. Not the one. There's a couple of things that I did not like about this film, and we're going to talk about that right now. One, there's continuity issues within the story lore, the Thor lore of MCU films. One in which, and maybe you guys saw something that I didn't see earlier on in all these other movies, but I'm pretty damn sure that Thor still has a fucked up eye. Last time we saw, Hela had, taken one of Thor's eyes, and Rocket gave Thor a replacement eye, which was a fake eye that he took from one of the Ravager guys. that eye was brown. So Thor had one blue eye and one brown eye. In this movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor now currently has both of his eyes back. I don't know if there's a healing factor that I didn't know about that Thor has, but he has both eyes throughout this entire movie. That bothered me just a little bit. I was like, I noticed that. Especially during the scene in the trailer where they make the joke where Thor, you know, when Star-Lord says, you know, if you ever feel lost or something, just look in the eyes of the people you love. And they zoom in on Thor's face, and you notice he has both blue eyes. Like, what happened? So that was a problem. There's another problem. This is a spoiler, guys, so I don't want you guys, if you don't want to hear this, you can skip it or just come back. It relates to Korg. Korg, in Thor Ragnarok, when he first meets Thor in the prison, he talks about his mom. And I don't remember the context of the conversation, but I do remember him using the word my mom. And I laughed because of the way that Taika says the word. In this one, Thor: Love and Thunder, Korg doesn't have a mother. He then tells a different story while he's conversating with Valkyrie about his two dads, as though the Korg's Kronins, are they called? Korg's race is a race of males that reproduce with one another. And I thought that was weird as hell. I'm like, wait, in the last movie, he's talking about his mom, and in this one, he's talking about his two dads. Hey, listen. So there's some continuity issues there that bothered me a little bit. Nothing serious, but they were there, and I noticed them because I've seen the film. I've actually seen this movie twice, but I picked up on that like immediately. There's some religious undertones in this that I think work very well in Gore's favor. I thought a lot of this good stuff you gotta like dig deep for. You gotta really want to care about the characters to kind of appreciate what they're the stories they're trying to tell. Gore's arc is very cool. Jane and Thor's relationship gets better and better as this movie grows on, and that leads me to the final thing that I want to talk about, where I say that I got a new appreciation for all of these Thor movies, because I feel like there's a missing feature in the other Thor movies that's kind of there, but I think should have been the pivotal focus of the Thor movies. We all know that we all know that Marvel, Kevin Feige, they like to do genre movies. All these superhero movies, they come with a sense of a genre to kind of give the film an identity. And I feel like Thor was the one that struggled with an identity in the beginning. And so Taika came in and said, you know what, we're going to make this a fun movie. We're going to make this, we're not going to take this so seriously. We're going to make it about, colors and magic and jokes and kind of make the hero laugh at himself. One of the more important tones and stories that I think they should have focused on was, why didn't we just focus on making this a romantic comedy movie? Because the one thing that relates to all of these movies is the relationship between Thor and Jane, except for Ragnarok, which plays well for what it was, and it makes sense for the time in his life that Thor was in. But from the first one to the second one, and now to the fourth one, they all revolved around the love between Thor and Jane. Thor should have been the rom-com of the MCU, because the strength of their relationship in this fourth one was absolutely amazing and very heartwarming. And there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that may make you tear or sniffle a little bit because of knowing these characters for so long and knowing how they are together. It was just beautiful. I thought that they did a really good job of tying that up and making it make sense for the audience. There are a lot of people are probably thinking there's plot holes in this thing, like, how does Jane even get the powers? All that is explained. Not right away, but it is explained. So just give it time, and you'll see why Jane is able to wield Mjolnir in this film. And I thought that was kind of good, because in the beginning I was kind of like, wait, but why, how, what is going on? And then Taika beautifully, throws that in, and then you're like, oh, okay, I like that. It makes sense. So, yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder, man. It's a very, very fun time. And that's all I can say. Don't go into this thing thinking you're gonna understand anything about Kang or understand anything about, you know, the MCU as a whole. No other characters are referenced to really that you haven't already heard about. There are 2 post-credit scenes that are really cool. The first one, very, very strong for the Thor lore and the Thor character. The second one, if you know the books and you know the comics, your mind may go one way. If you're just a casual that watches these movies, it may not mean anything to you on that second post-credit scene. But for us, for me, my friends, when we saw it, we were like, oh, it could be, We connected the dots. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about this, guys. Like, I had a good time at this movie. Do I think it's top tier? No. Will I go back to it? No, I've already gone back to it, and I'm not going back ever again. Thor was never my favorite Marvel property, but I did enjoy this, and I had a good time. Even in a marathon, I sat through 8 hours of Thor, and I walked out okay. And I think you'll be okay watching 2 hours of Thor. So try to enjoy this movie. It's wacky, it's silly, it's Thor. He's laughing at himself. Laugh with him. I mean, that's all I can say. And if you don't, then you don't. Because at the end of the day, we're all not supposed to like everything that we all like. We're all different people, and to each his own. And there are plenty of other MCU movies out there worthy of your time and will be coming out that we can probably agree on. But overall, guys, I want to know what you thought. Are you interested? Are you happy to see this movie? Do you care? Like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. And for more movie news, television news, and pop culture, make sure you guys check out wearecritics.com. Shout out to Showcase Cinema's National Amusements, and I will talk to you all later.